Hey folks, hi, this is Ignacio with North Star Senior Advisors. Thanks for joining me. Another episode of North Star Presents. Really quick, we are a senior placement company here in Central Florida. We help families and seniors locate senior living options. Today, I have the pleasure of joining me, Stacey Schwartz. She's an associate attorney of Flammia Elder Law Firm. So Stacey, thank you for joining me.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and today's topic, folks, is going to be the importance of estate planning documents. So, with everything going on, obviously now more than ever, we're realizing the importance of having your affairs in order. So I want Stacey to kind of jump in here with me and educate you guys on some of these documents and the importance of those. So let's get started. So Stacey, what are some common documents that folks need to consider, and what do they do?
Sure. Well, estate planning is about what happens while you're alive if you become incapacitated, and then also what happens when you're gone. So there's kind of a two-part approach to making sure your estate plan covers anything that can happen. So while you're alive, there's some ancillary documents that are important to have. So a healthcare surrogate, a HIPAA release, a living will, power of attorney. Those are all very important while you're alive. If something happens to you, you want someone to be in place to help take care of your medical decision-making, financial decision-making. And then on the tail end of things, so to speak, is what happens when you're gone. Do you have a will? Do you have a trust? What's the right situation for you? So estate planning is just an overarching umbrella with all those different items that fall within it.
Got it. Okay. And I didn't get a chance to ask you. You mind telling us a little bit about your firm and how long you guys been here in Central Florida?
Yeah, sure. So Planning-Flammia is the owner of the firm, and she's been doing estate planning for about 25 years. And the firm used to be Planning-Flammia Attorney at Law, and then recently we changed to the Flammia Elder Law Firm. We do estate planning, that's a big part of our practice, but also Medicaid planning. So going into a facility, how do you pay for long-term care? So we do Medicaid planning, VA benefits planning, so also helping veterans try and access some of those benefits. We do probate and guardianship as well. So we want to be your one-stop shop for all elder law issues, or also just, what happens to make sure you're taken care of during your life.
Excellent. Good to know. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those documents are essential, as we mentioned, folks. Now, specific to the ones you highlighted, who would typically need those forms of documents, would you say?
So we always say anyone over the age of 18. If you think of the average college student, they've graduated, moved out of their house, and their parents have been in charge of, their financial decision, their health care, and then they graduate and move away, and parents no longer have the same rights as they did when the child was under 18. So anyone over 18, it's important to have those ancillary documents in place. So the healthcare surrogate is a document that says who can make medical decisions on your behalf while you're alive. And you can designate whoever you want. There's always a joke in my family that my dad, he doesn't want my mom to make those decisions because he thinks she'll make them too quickly. So we have a joke that he'd rather the kids make those types of decisions. So if it's depending on your family dynamics, who you want, the healthcare decision maker, that's in the healthcare surrogate. The HIPAA release says who can speak to doctors on your behalf, so you can have a whole list of people or just one person. It's really up to you. The living will states what your end-of-life wishes are, and that's become important with everything going on today. There's patients with COVID who are on ventilators, and how does that affect previous language in a living will? So the living will says if ever you're in a terminal condition, an end-stage condition, or a persistent vegetative state, what your wishes are for that type of scenario, and more of a direction to your family members of would you want artificial nutrition, hydration, being put on a ventilator, anything like that. So the living will is direction for your healthcare surrogate and also medical professionals of what your wishes are if you can't speak for yourself. And then the power of attorney, that kind of switches away from the medical documents. The power of attorney is one of the most important documents that you can have. It says who could stand in your shoes for your finances while you're alive. And if long-term care concerns are on the horizon, maybe some diminished capacity issues, the power of attorney is well worth any money that you can spend on it, because in the future, if someone can't act for themselves, they need that power of attorney to designate who can make financial decisions, who can do Medicaid planning. So the power of attorney gets to be very important with what actual language is in it. Not all are created equal. If you don't go to an estate planning attorney, they might not have the right elder care language. So you want to make sure that all the bases are covered with that power of attorney. So those are just those main documents for what happens while you're alive if you become incapacitated.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I know, my wife and I, we have boys, and, as they've matured, I have a 22, soon to be 20, one just turned 18. So we know we've been exposed to the industry, obviously, so we understand the importance. So we got that squared away. But most families, I would think, typically wouldn't even think, right? 18 plus that you need to get this stuff in order, because you just really never know. And then honestly, technically anything can happen from a healthcare perspective. But now let's just mention, right, COVID-19 with, how it plays itself out, and potentially depending on age and the condition, you could end up intubated, which means you need somebody to make these decisions for you. So definitely very important documents to have. So thanks for sharing that. What would you say maybe some benefits or disadvantages of why people may consider kind of doing it themselves, some of those do-it-yourself type legal documents or resources? What are your thoughts and suggestions on that?
So, and I've read a few articles recently, again, with everything going on in the world, that search engines are finding an uptick in estate planning. People are looking into estate planning more. The issues with do-it-yourself, so to speak, is that those online programs are built more for a one-size-fits-all approach. Just fill in the blanks. No real legal understanding of your particular situation. So if you go to an estate planner, specifically if you came to me, we'd sit down and talk about your family members. Do you trust your family members to inherit money, what they would do with it? Who do you trust to make those decisions for you? And really talk through what your wishes are so you make sure you get it on paper. With those online resources, it's not the same talking things through with someone who's gone through the good and the bad of the estate planning side of things. So there is some danger that you might do it incorrectly, and there's no one really there to review the documents from a legal perspective. And if you do the documents incorrectly, it causes a lot more issues later on in the future. So it's better off, I 100% think, in some situations, if it's quick, easy, the online documents, might be okay. But in general, it's better to, go to a professional, make sure you understand all of the ramifications of everything that you decide.
Okay. So if I was to kind of paraphrase that, because, I'm not an attorney, you're an attorney, but if, obviously if I'm kind of digesting what you just said, it's kind of like, okay, so the option is there to fill in the blank. So you got this blank slate, but you have the slate where it has some pre-populated areas, you fill in the blanks, but to your point, until you understand the full dynamic of what it is you're looking to achieve, your personal, family, health dynamic, it can exclude potential items. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, and I personally haven't gone through any of the websites to plug in, so I don't know exactly how it works. I've seen them on the tail end of things, but it's my understanding that, let's say you came to me and said, were having issues with your house, who you wanted your house to go to. There are certain ramifications of who you give your house to and what happens when you're gone. I don't know if any website would go into that or talk you through, what's the best way to pass along your homestead and your assets and all of that.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I would highly recommend you do it right the first time, because I think it's one of the, well, actually, I know it's one of those things that if you don't get it right and it doesn't truly represent you when you need it, then it's kind of obsolete, then it's kind of pointless, which is, I think, a situation nobody wants to be in. So thanks for clarifying that for us.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys? So if there's somebody out there watching and they're thinking, okay, this is important to me or my family, I want to reach, Flammia Elder Law Firm, what's the best way to do that?
So you can always give our office a call. The phone number is 478-8700. And then our website is also a great resource. We have a lot of blogs, online videos. Kathleen Flammia wrote a book on how to pay for long-term care that's available for a free download on our website. Wow. So our website has a ton of resources, and you can submit questions to us there. So definitely take a look at our website to see what we can offer to you and how we can help.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for that. And I believe you guys are pretty engaged in the community as well, the local community. You contribute. Anything you want to highlight or mention before we log off?
Yeah, sure. So right now we're working with Seniors First and Meals on Wheels. So there's a big need for some just basic pantry items for Meals on Wheels. So I'm just reading off the listing: peanut butter, canned meat, protein drinks, cans of soup, beans, any non-perishables. They are really in need, the food pantry, for donations. And our office is a drop-off station for Meals on Wheels. So right outside our front doors, we have a drop-off. So really, if you have any extra food that you bought, I know when everything first started happening, I bought all this hurricane food thinking, we wouldn't have enough.
Right.
And the stores are still open, so everything's fine. So I personally donated a bunch of stuff, and it's definitely a community that needs help. And anything you can do would really be a great resource.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you guys for doing that. I think that's a great resource for sure. Thank you for taking the time today. Folks, I'm going to outline all this information on the video so you can see it as well. And, Flammia Elder Law Firm, great resource for your estate planning. So feel free to give them a call. Stacey, again, thank you. I appreciate your time. Okay.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.